This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome to the Front Porch. Real conversations about life, leadership, and perseverance. Each week, Dennis Polian and Jay Davis bring you inspiring stories and lessons to help you grow, lead, and thrive. Pull up a chair. The conversation starts now.
Welcome back to another edition of the Front Porch. I'm Dennis Polian with my friend Jay Davis. I think we've made it past 10 episodes. We're above average. We've exceeded most lifespans, Jay.
Eight's the threshold, so we're climbing.
Man, that's pretty good.
We're trending, as the kids say.
Yeah, thanks to the polling agency for keeping us alive. That's great.
Thanks to the polling agency.
We're very excited today to have Mike Vogelaar, who is the executive director of the Greater Waco Sports Commission. But he's a lot like us, where in an established career at a big organization that serves really the sports industry at every level, ironically, in terms of the product, Daktronics, long career at Daktronics, and then made a pivot to nonprofit with the Greater Waco Sports Commission, whose mission is really economic impact, but also social impact in the community. And we thought, you would be a great addition to the show, really because of your experiences with big organizations, small organizations, different generations you've had to lead, and the challenges that come with that. And then just the balance of changing your career and having a young family and all of the things that we go through. I think it's a great story, so we're glad to have you.
Well, thankful to be here.
Hopefully we get more than one word answer.
Yeah.
But
No.
yeah. But behind the curtain here, Mike's usually on the other end of this, so he's a guest. So we're gonna give him a little bit of a hard time, aren't we, Dennis?
We are, and I did give him a heads up on some of the things we would talk about, and we probably won't end up talking about any of that.
Because Dennis likes to do that. Yeah,
I do. I like to do that to Jay.
Yeah. I'd love to know. So, Netherlands.
Yep.
Before we get into all the fun stuff, this is really for me. It's kind of the fun stuff. So, just doing a little background on you. So, you were born in the Netherlands, and you speak several languages.
Yeah. So my parents were missionaries. My dad was a potato farmer, and my mom was from Orange County, California. And they met in Europe, and my dad smuggled Bibles across the communist border, like you smuggle drugs.
Wow.
So secret compartments, in the tires, the whole 9 yards. And so he was doing that. And so I was born during that time frame. And so then the wall came down, and they basically asked, like, hey, now that we've got access to resources, can you help us more? So he started his nonprofit then. And so I lived in the Netherlands for 4 years, and then moved to Austria and lived there for a little while. So having English in the home just because of my mom's American background, and then obviously being around the Dutch culture and being in Holland, learned Dutch, and to a degree, right, as a 4-year-old, so just a lot of your basic vocabulary. And then went to Austria and went to an all German speaking kindergarten and first grade. So got to learn how to read, write, do math. The interesting thing there, in Austria is they make you do math with a pen and an ink, which in America, you're always told, do it on a pencil, right? Because you're going to make a mistake. But the expectation there is don't make a mistake, do it in pen.
Yeah, that's
so wow. Did all that, grew up there. So got to learn how to speak Dutch and German, and yeah.
So we're an international podcast. Would you like to say anything to our German audience?
Gosh, putting me on the spot. Of course, those were a number of years ago. But ich heiße Michael, and this is Guten Tag.
Da.
Das ist gut. Ja. Sehr gut.
I didn't even put you on the spot.
Yeah.
I knew it would totally throw Dennis off. So
No,
that's
he
kinda why I
nailed
did
it. He knows exactly what I was picking down.
Kilometers or miles?
I mean, again, I grew up in that culture. Obviously, all that's kilometers, but I'm Americanized, so it's all miles and everything else here. So
That just reminds me of the time I lived in Canada, and I had no idea
Oh,
how
yeah.
fast I was
Fast you were
going or how
going,
far
no.
anything was away from where I was.
there's a lot of math involved too.
That kind of broad experience, that is so unique, essentially in today's culture. Do you think that prepared you for life as a professional? Like maybe when you started your career, you might have been ahead of the game just because you were exposed to different environments, different ways of communicating, different culture.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that growing up and just seeing the work that my parents did, and then just being involved with serving, a lot of the work that was done was in the Eastern European bloc. So Romania, Ukraine, at the time, Czechoslovakia, now Czech Republic. And so I got to see just these orphanages and these communities that didn't have much at all. And so being able to go into those communities and see how grateful they were for things. Then as a kid coming to America, and the land of plenty, like you go to, I remember even just small little things, like if you go to a McDonald's there, right, you have to pay per ketchup packet, right? Like everything, wow. There's a price to it because nothing's free. And then you come here and just, you can have as many ketchup packets as you want. Unless you go to Chick-fil-A, then you get 2 Chick-fil-A sauces, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they know. And they sell it in bottles now. So it was just one of those things growing up where it's just like, man, you just see how much need there is in so many different communities that I think that never left me. And so growing up, it's just a great sense of appreciation. And I try to be humble in situations. If I say that I'm humble, then I'm not, clearly, right? Mm-hmm. But that's what I strive for, is just to be able to understand, man, there's folks that are out of sight, out of view, that have it a lot worse. So how in the world could I be in a position to complain or to grumble about something? Like I've been given so many opportunities, and so how can I push forward through whatever hurdle it is? So I think that every person, honestly, I think for kids especially, because they are so transformative, I think that everybody should be able to go visit another country, and not in like a touristy, luxury, vacation type of style, but honestly on like being on mission and really seeing like what's behind the touristy areas. Because I mean, you can even get that same experience here in Waco, right? Yeah. You can visit the touristy places, but then not really see the true need that's here in this community. Mm-hmm. And so, I just think that that's a really important thing to build as just a foundational awareness.
Yeah. Did you ever feel, I know you were really young at the time, but did you ever feel or remember feeling the risk that your parents were taking before the wall came down, or did they try to keep that from you?
Yeah, I was young when the wall came down, so really wasn't aware of it. But we did have an alias, and so I grew up with an alias, and I grew up even throughout high school. So everybody up into high school graduation knew me as Michael Paulson. And so for a missionary, an alias of Paulson, son of Paul, like not very creative, but it worked. So I grew up with that my entire life. And so that was probably to the degree of like, hey, being aware of some of the different, risks, I would say.
That's amazing.
How long did you live over there before you came to the States?
I moved over when I was in second grade. So, when I was about seven or 8. So, but then we would still visit every single summer. We would go back and do that all the way up till high school. So I just remember being, now Americanized, you're in school, and what better time of the year than summer break, right? Where you get to just play games or hang out with your friends, take off from school. And for us, it was, okay, we're going to go with all these different supplies and we're going to go over to, different camps in the middle of nowhere in Ukraine or Romania and help serve these kids. And it was just like, man, but I want to be here. I want to play, like baseball with my friends, or I want to go do this. And so it was having those continual trips every single summer that helped keep things fresh and relevant in my mind.
Yeah, that's neat.
Life moves fast, but the unexpected doesn't care about your calendar. At the Polian Agency, we help successful families protect what they've worked so hard to build. From life insurance to smart coverage strategies, we tailor protection that grows with you, so you're prepared for whatever's next. The Polian Agency, where protection meets purpose. Visit PolianAgency.com or call 254-772-1444 to start the conversation.
We didn't really mean to get into this.
Yeah, did you have that on your research?
You know what? So
more than a one-word
side-
answer.
There's absolutely no way he had that in his
Sidebar
research.
here is this guy tries to trip me up on all my prep. I really never reference my prep.
Yeah.
But it's just it's my security blanket
Yeah.
here.
No,
so
that's great.
Basically anything I have here, I won't ask you. But
No, you did
anyway, this guy, So
I mean,
we
we're
appreciate you being a guest.
We're talking
I'm sorry.
to an example of servant leadership whose parents were an example of servant leadership, and you're making it about you and your prep. I mean, come on.
I don't even know where to go with that. So kind of fast forward here. So you come back, California?
Colorado.
Colorado.
Yep. A lot of nonprofits in Colorado. And so that's where they moved. And so, grew up there, went throughout high school, graduated, and then went to Baylor, met my wife there during Welcome Week. And then we did it all throughout school, and then moved up to Dallas and started working with Daktronics.
That's a pretty cool story already.
It is. And you were with Daktronics for maybe 12, 13 years.
Yep.
How did, at any point when you're doing that, I mean, that's a big company and you were traveling all over the place dealing with a lot of different size clients. Production-based, income-based, a company that wants to grow and sells very expensive products.
Quality products.
I'm a huge fan everywhere I've worked. Anytime we changed, we put in a Daktronic board. Did you feel the pull back to the nonprofit, or did it just call you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So interestingly enough, Daktronics, Fortune 500 company, just like what you said, probably 80% of the market share for professional sports, collegiate, high school, tiny little white letters. You'll see it all over the place. And so they're based out of Brookings, South Dakota. And so one of the nice things about them is that they are just, they are very humble, like the culture there. And so it was about working together as a team. And so that's fantastic, especially as the larger you get, the harder it is to maintain that. And something very unique about Daktronics, at least at the time that I was there, is that for a Fortune 500 company, it's probably the only one that I know, the entire sales department was flat salary.
Oh, wow.
So you don't get paid on commission.
Can I send you my resume to get to them?
Yeah, because you're all part of a team, right?
Yeah.
And so the argument was, well, if you got a commission in the sales department, engineers for what they design, should get a commission, and they should get a commission. And so to be there for 12 years as a high performer, I would say that I was a high performer. That presented different mental challenges, right? If my performance, whether it's super high or very, very low, for the most part, there was some discretionary income. But again, how do you take care of your employees and putting together an organization? Your whole question was, right, like, did I feel a pull? It was almost like I was part of, like a nonprofit, because there's this humble company and we're all working together for, a greater good. And we're almost essentially going to be equal in a lot of these different, measurements. And so that's where it comes into the intrinsic value. Why do you work? Why do you perform things? And for me, that was just where I had to really reflect on it and just go like, hey, I want to be able to do my best. My faith is really meaningful to me. It's the most meaningful thing to me. And so I was reflecting on Colossians 3:23, work for man as though you were working for the Lord. And so no matter what someone else sees or does or how I'm getting compensated, if I say that I'm going to do this job, then I'm going to do it to the absolute best ability that I can, regardless of the result. Or the compensation. And that's why I was with them for 12 years, is I just wanted to continue to be able to develop and build in. And, I also got to work from home, and that was before COVID, right? Mm-hmm. Before it was mainstream, I was doing that. And so I've got 4 kids. And so I got to help take kids to school and have breakfast at the breakfast table with them, and have lunch and pick them up from, Mother's Day out. And so I got to balance my work while taking care of my kids while my wife went through school to get her doctorate as a nurse practitioner. So we were both challenging each other in different ways with a lot of things on our plate. And so that was a benefit of working at Daktronics, is that I got to perform hard, but then also keep the main thing, which was my family and still being involved with them on a daily basis.
Did you know that about Daktronics before you got involved with them? Or did you know that obviously a Midwest company. I grew up in the Midwest, so again, not about me, but sorry. But seriously, did you know that about the company? You seem very a thoughtful person.
Well, that's kind to say. At that time, though, to timestamp it, this was in 2008. I had interned with them my junior summer. And so they had said, hey, we love what you're doing. We want to be able to bring you back on. And so I'm engaged to my now wife, of course, that senior year for me. And so I turned down all the other different jobs because I'm going to do this job that I know and I'm excited about. And then, as you guys all know, in 2008, everything fell underneath. And so in April of my senior year, Daktronics, just like everybody else, all froze hiring. Everything was on pause. So I had turned down all these other different, interviews. And now all of a sudden I wasn't going to work for Daktronics. And I'm getting married in 3 months. So how am I going to provide as a young person with no job in one of the most difficult economic situations that I'd been aware of, at least? And so truthfully, I didn't actually start with Daktronics. I actually started with Enterprise Rent-A-Car because my father-in-law told me that they honestly
great training program.
That they have a great training program. And so that's where I went. Graduating from Baylor, I thought, man, I'm gonna make good money, and I'm gonna do all these different things. And then the Lord had different plans. And again, being humbled, there I am that summer in a suit in Dallas, washing cars and picking people up and running all over the place. And that was full time. Hourly wage is 49 hours of clock time. And the compensation was $32,000 a year. And you had to grind. And so when Daktronics finally had the opportunity where they said, hey, we've unfroze hiring because we want to be able to bring you on, I was very grateful to take advantage of that opportunity. So that's where I say, I don't know if I was that insightful, but I appreciated that company culture more so than the experience that I was having at Enterprise as far as the demands, at least.
I think it is great insight because, people coming out of school today, it's a different environment. It's a different work environment, a different learning environment. And when I came out of school, graduating from Villanova, I made $300 a week at Boston College to be the receptionist. And also be on the what they called the bull gang, which was turning the ice over to basketball in the arena, cleaning the Zamboni, setting the chairs out and the benches and cleaning it up, and sometimes doing security. And then I worked the door at a local bar, for a little extra social activity, and then also worked security at Fenway Park for games. So essentially doing 3 different things, and I was going to grad school at night. And that the little bit of the similar grind, I actually housemates with 3 enterprise guys.
Yeah.
Who were going through the same exact thing.
If you know an enterprise person,
Yeah.
you both look at each other and go like, we both know.
Exactly. But that work ethic
Mm-hmm.
and that it creates an appreciation
Mm-hmm.
for earning something and building something
Yeah.
that I don't think a lot of people have today. And I know with my team is young, and every single day we're talking about things like that. And I often find myself thinking I'm George Costanza's father in Seinfeld every once in a while, because they look at me like I'm insane when I'm talking about earning it and, the type of activity that's required and those things. And now I know what my dad meant by, walking uphill both ways to school in the snow.
Yeah.
That's, I think, a unique challenge for leaders.
100%. I think that's going to be a challenge that is only going to get harder. Is just that to a degree generational difference of perspective, right, and experience. Is how do we manage the next growing leaders in a way that's still challenging, but they've essentially been coddled in a lot of different things. And so, okay, how can I meet you where you are, and how can I push and challenge you to grow to what you're capable of? That's a hard line.
Yeah. How do you do that?
Balance.
Let's fast forward now to the Greater Waco Sports Commission.
Yeah.
You have some full-time staff and then some GAs, and it's not a huge team, but the folks I've met on your team are fantastic examples of kind of mission-driven, but young and just recently out of school, things like that. How do in a small environment, how have you been able to identify those characteristics, and how do you try to cultivate that consistently when you have to wear a lot of hats and you may not necessarily be around them all the time?
Yeah. I mean, I think we all know, right? Like, for an organization to be successful, you have to have a healthy culture. And that starts with the people that you hire and making sure that they and their personalities and their strengths and values match your core values as an organization. So if you don't have core values as an organization, or at least for your department that you manage and you oversee, then you really don't have a direction that you're going. And so that's something that we really pride ourselves on, is defining our culture and our values, and then hiring people that fit in that, and not reaching for people, being really, really picky. Because, our commitments are long commitments with the grad assistants. We have them for 2 years. And for a full-time employee, I want you to be super successful and to grow. Ultimately, success would be, hey, you're staying with us, or you're growing into a new role somewhere else. And so I have to make sure that I'm asking hard questions, in the interview process, that I'm doing my due diligence of research and references. But then also, once they are on board, like, that's what management is. That's what leadership is. It's teaching and training and taking the time. So that's not a, hey, fill this out, we'll talk, once every 2 weeks, but having the weekly staff meetings, having the one-on-ones. I've got one-on-ones with all the folks, in our organization. It might be for 10 minutes like I had with one person today, and it might be for 30 or 60 minutes one week, which doesn't seem like it's an efficient use of time sometimes, because it's like, I've got a lot of other different things that I got to do. But I know that it's going to save me on the back end, because if that person doesn't feel valued, if they don't feel heard, they're going to leave. And now I'm going to have to spend a lot more time and a lot more money finding someone and training them up to be able to be right back where I was, when I could just honestly care for the person that's in front of me.
So back to culture, do you think culture is people? Do you think it's process, or do you think it's both?
Yeah, that sounds like a scripted question.
That's not even on there. That's not even on there. That was a pivot.
That's a great pivot.
It sounds like he's on my team.
Yeah.
Over
No,
your prep.
I would, obviously I think it starts It's both, right? It's a chicken and the egg, right? Like you got to have the people, but you also have to be able to enforce it and be intentional about it. You don't just stumble upon a good, healthy culture. And if you do, and you get lucky, then you know, it's gonna, your time's going to run out on that. And so we have really focused on how can we build a strong team and making sure that the right people are in the right spots on the bus, that we're highlighting people's strengths, because everybody has strengths. So that's the people part, but then you also have to have the structure part. So that's the process.
So what if you found the perfect candidate? Absolutely just perfect, but just a little bit off in terms of the culture. But you knew that if you could kind of polish them up a little bit, that they could be a rock star. Would you take a flyer on them?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Me personally, depending on what it is, yes, because I think that people can change. Obviously, it's circumstantial, right? I would need to know what that thing is, right? There's some deal breakers, integrity, stuff like that, where it's just like, if you don't match our core values, then unfortunately that's a deal breaker. Right. And that's why they're so important to us. But if there are other different pieces, then it's like, okay. If it's personality, okay, you're a little quirky, or you might not have the same interests. You know, you might not blend in with everybody else, but we can work around that. If it's communication habits, if it's other different things, like I'm willing to take that risk, because you got to be able to take some risks. Because there's not that perfect candidate.
Yeah. I thought you were describing me.
Yeah. Did you take a chance on him, Jay?
No, he did not.
You're here now.
Vice versa.
Okay.
That's another podcast. That's a mini series.
That's when AARP picks us up.
Is that your 50th episode? Stay tuned.
It's it's funny, everything you talk about, you use two particular words that the research is showing as millennials, Gen Y and Gen Z start to be asked for what they want in a work environment. They want to be heard. They want to feel valued, and not necessarily have a say, but understand why things are done the way they are. Yeah. And it's emerging. This concept is emerging. I like to say sometimes these terms are marketing terms or for higher education, when they build their degree programs, but there's transformative leadership and there's servant leadership, when really what this upcoming generation needs is both and wants both. And so now people are coining transformative servant leadership, which is really at the end of the day just caring about the people on your team and putting them ahead of you, which doesn't happen often in the workplace. So I think your core values from that standpoint are pretty unique, and probably has to do with how you grew up, though, and what you were exposed to with your parents, and then the culture at Daktronics. But it's funny how it's becoming this new thing in quote unquote leadership education, but a lot of people have been doing it and just kind of, because that's just who they are. So I wonder, after all that long tangent there, do you think somebody who's not used to leading that way can become that kind of leader? Or is it more about who they are and how they were brought up as people and professionals that would dictate that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's things that are instinctive, right? Like for people and just natural for them. But I think that's why, you're going to school, right? To be able to learn things that are not natural to you, right? And so I think that people can learn and grow through those things. They just need to be able to be more aware of those things. And so that could be through schooling in a structured, situation like you're going through, or it could be through a mentor. I've had some really great ones. One of our board members has been a really fantastic mentor of just like showing some of those different best practices that he's seen in other different places. And so that's really helped set us up for the success that we're having and are going to have in future years. So I think it's you can have completely be learned.
Yeah.
But look for it, right? Like
Yep.
you gotta, hey, I want to learn about this. I want to go to school. I'm going to go through that process. Most people don't have a mentor, right?
Mhm.
Find a mentor, like be hungry, because that's where you're going to learn so much. Yeah. Anyways, that's my soapbox.
I like it.
You're welcome. So from profit to nonprofit,
Mm-hmm.
what moved you to make that jump? That's I mean, you had experience growing up, and I wouldn't call it experience. I mean, it was life for you, which
Mhm.
is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But with a great culture at Daktronics, and such a giant in that industry, and to have that kind of culture, and then MVP marketing, right?
Mhm.
And that.
Mhm.
So, what caused you to make the pivot? Did you feel like maybe this was a little bit of both worlds for you to move into this realm, to do this?
Yeah, so there was obviously some familiarity with my dad and growing up around a nonprofit. And the biggest thing was, honestly, we lived in Dallas, and we just felt like, of all things, we'd been very plugged into our church, friends, work, everything there for 12 years, like just incredible roots. My parents lived there, my sister lived there, and we just felt like the Lord was calling us to move to Waco, of all places, not for a job, not for anything. We just felt like he was calling us back here to Waco. And so we made that move. And amidst that move, between when we sold the home and we were moving at the end of the school year, an old friend that I actually managed at Daktronics told me about this job opening that his professor told him about. And he was like, hey, I'm going to interview for this job, but I think you should too. And so we both interviewed for it at the same time. And we were both happy with, like, hey, we're not looking for another job, but like, you always want to have your ears open. And so I figured, hey, you know what? I'll interview for it. And I didn't know what a sports commission was. Most people honestly don't. And so I did the interview and learned a little bit more about it. And at Daktronics, my job was to put together master marketing plans for high school football stadiums, which in Texas, that's a nice job. And so I was all about working from home, like I said, and going and building partnerships in these other different communities. And then I would drive back 2-3 hours back home and make more phone calls to another school district and help set up more partnerships. Rinse and repeat for 12 years, essentially the same role. And at some point, it's like, man, I'm making a difference in all these other different communities. In fact, I had sold multiple school districts down here in Waco and was actually helping Robinson ISD at the time. Oh. And on one of the sales trips down here, I snuck over to the chamber and did one of my interviews for this job. And so to answer your question, the reason that I felt comfortable moving over to nonprofit is the reason that we moved to Waco was to be able to make a difference in a community. And so I thought, man, I was going to live in Waco and I was going to go to all these other different communities to still build these partnerships, but I could do that in my own backyard, in my own neighborhood. And like, how unique of an opportunity is that? And to do it through sports, something that I'm passionate about. And so that's why I applied and, just kind of shared my background and who I was. And the interview was the craziest interview for the sports commission because I literally did not talk at all about anything on my resume. It was just me and who I was and what I was excited about and what they would get with me. And so was just really fortunate that they selected me over some of the other different really great folks that they interviewed. And so here we are. I'm in the nonprofit world because I'm getting to build partnerships here in Waco to be able to help serve this community. That is a huge win.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. That's a good way to pivot to actually tell us a little bit more about the Sports Commission, what the core mission is and some of the things that you do and the events that you help put on that actually do make a huge difference in this community.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to get on the elevator and I'm going to give you the speech real quick. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We exist to empower the heart of Central Texas through sport. And we do that through 3 different pillars. The first one is developing healthy communities, youth, and families. So we want to be able to help activate this community. 70% of McLean County is either obese or overweight. And so how can we help the folks here just take a step, right? Just take that first scary step of motion and activity and health. And so we put on different 5Ks. We've got a scholarship program called Team Waco for folks that want to be able to compete in the upcoming Ironman. And we're looking to be able to even do more. Next on our horizon is we want to be able to build an after-school sports program for kids in underserved schools. And so how can we help teach kids the power of sports at a young age and really help build and invest in the future? The second pillar that we focus on is supporting impactful events. So we're probably most known for bringing in the Ironman. So we've had the full Ironman here as well as the 70.3. And so now we specialize in hosting the 70.3 race. And so we had over 2,300 people come and compete in our river and our county roads and our downtown. And that brings an economic impact of about $6 to $8 million to the Waco area for one weekend of sports, because the average Ironman athlete income is a little over $200,000. That's a great person to have in town for a couple days. And they bring their family and their support crew and everybody else. So we help bring in that, volleyball tournaments. We want to help support rowing regattas, esports tournaments, you name it. If there's a competition, if it's Excel spreadsheet, competitions, like we want to be able to help bring it to Waco. And then the third one is advocate for first-class facilities. Living in Dallas, there's nice facilities, honestly, everywhere you look. And when I moved down here, I noticed that there's not really a sports complex. There's not a large aquatic learning center. There's not fill in the blank. And so we've got to have facilities like that to be able to bring and host events that bring economic impact, but then can also serve this community and improve the local quality of life. So those are the 3 things that we try and focus on.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I've been fortunate to get to know more of what you do and
be a part of it
and be a part of it, full disclosure. But what goes understated, and that's because of your personality being so humble, is the millions of dollars of economic impact that helps so many different people here, not just the businesses and their owners. And one of those things that you started last year was Corporate Cup that does have a focused charitable component. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Man, I get super excited about Corporate Cup. This is an event that we learned from San Antonio and the Sports Commission there. They're fantastic. They got the idea from Indianapolis. But essentially what it is I want you to just close your eyes and picture 2,000 people out at MCC for us, and they are having their tailgating in the parking lot, and then they're walking into the baseball fields, and on the turf fields, you've got tug of war on one field, you got a 4x100 on the other, you got cornhole, you got a football throw, you got dodgeball in between. It is a day of just fun for adults. And so corporations get to sign up and they get to participate in all these different events with their employees. And so it's an opportunity for leadership and the people at the ground level, right, to be able to both pick up the same tug of war rope and play together. And so to create an opportunity like that for this community, the hope is to be able to create the signature event that grows and grows and grows, and that folks know, oh man, the Corporate Cup is coming up. And so the different businesses, there's 3 different divisions based on your employee size, and then the winner at the end of all these different competitions, they win it's basically like a Stanley Cup, a traveling trophy for their division class. And so we want to make it a big deal. San Antonio, they've got about 7,000 or 8,000 folks that come out to theirs. Wow. And so, for a large market like that, for us to be able to have 2,000 people for our first year it was really, really special.
Yeah. So just 1 year.
Yep. We've got 1 year under our belt. I would say the greatest compliment, just because of all the help and the resources San Antonio gave us, people walked away and said, this does not feel like a first year event. And that was exactly what we wanted people to feel.
Yeah.
So we've got our second one coming up this summer here in June 2026. And so if there's folks here in the Greater Waco area or in the Central Texas area that want to compete, we'd love to be able to have you guys join us. But it is just an absolute blast to be out there and watch these teams just cheer each other on in all their spirit.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Check it out, Waco. Check that out on wacosports.org.
I'm curious, how many different companies or corporations were involved in the first one?
We had 38, ranging from SpaceX won Division I. So again, it's from anybody and everybody.
SpaceX won an athletic event.
Yeah, they beat the fire department. But that's the thing is you got to participate in the right competitions, right? Yeah. So if you say, I don't want to do that event because whatever, like those are free points. You got to capture all the points you can. So they were strategic, is what they were.
Yeah,
so exactly. But them all the way down to the local insurance agent or the small restaurant, the chamber actually won Division III. So it is just so neat just to see the variety of people and how much fun they had come out.
No, that's awesome. I think that's a great event, and what you're doing is fantastic, and hopefully we'll start to get recognized more by the city and the county, and the momentum just keeps going, because there are a lot of people here in need. In Central Texas, and for an organization that has a business focus, but also the consequences of that success actually impacts other people is pretty neat. That's one of the reasons my family decided to stay here, is the unique opportunities in our community for that compared to other places that we've lived. And so we appreciate that from you, and are very grateful that you joined us today. I think I know I learned a lot. Jay probably was reading his prep so much that he wasn't even listening, but
I saw him taking a lot of notes.
Maybe he'll listen to it when we hit the air. But Mike Vogelaar from Greater Waco Sports Commission, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for joining us on the Front Porch. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow, share, and leave a review so more people can join the conversation. Until next time, keep showing up, keep leading strong, and we'll see you back on the porch soon.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.